This $300 launch monitor is probably the best option for you to actually get better at golf. Today, we're talking with Dr. Sasho MacKenzie. He's one of the leading golf biomechanists. You've no doubt seen him if you're into golf instruction. And he started this company called The Stack, all about speed training. You've probably seen The Stack. Matt Fitzpatrick uses it. It's really well done, really well known. And they use this launch monitor to track speeds with the Stack stick that you use. And along the way, he kind of had this idea of there's all this other stuff that I can do with this launch monitor. So he started building stuff. And that is what we're going to talk about today. The practice tracker, the Wedge Games, why it's good, what it actually measures. Is it accurate? Like, what does that mean? What actually matters if you're practicing? Really fun conversation. And Sasha is just a very interesting guy to go deep with on some of these topics. And so that's what we did today. If you want to check out The Stack, we have a link down below. There's a discount code as well. They have been kind enough to sponsor and be a partner here on Golf Well to kind of talk about some of these performance tracking stuff, the practice tracker, the Wedge Games, and share that because I think it is honestly some of the most impactful and useful stuff that you can start using if you actually want to get better. And context is everything. If you want feedback on how you are getting better at golf, this is like a really good way to do that. So check it out at the link below. Let's get into this conversation with Dr. Sasho MacKenzie. All right, so today we're talking about why Sasho has convinced me that all you need is his $300. Well, it's like $260 with my discount code. No plugs, or it is a plug. You should go use that. Launch monitor. And y'all might be saying like, that's crazy. I need something way more. But I've been doing this for the past couple months, and I think I'm also convinced. So we've come to talk about it. Sasho, why do you want us to use this thing versus a thousands of dollar launch monitor?
Well, it's all about practice and tracking your practice, and I think that we've solved a few problems that most golfers have when it comes to practicing. There's friction with setting up a lot of other launch monitors. Maybe it's only 4 or 5 minutes, or during a session you got to realign them. With ours, it's you turn it on and put it down. Doesn't even really have to be pointed in a great direction. And the other one is the ease with which you can bring up meaningful statistics from your practice sessions over time. So a couple of taps in the app, and you've got some graphs that says, hey, this is what I've been doing well. This is what I've not been doing well. This is how often I've been hitting my clubs. If you want to work on your technique, like specifically determine what's my attack angle, how much spin I'm putting on the ball, we're not great for that. But if you want to put the time in practicing and see if you're improving, that's where we're great at.
Okay, so important context is you think people need to practice with the launch monitor more? Because I would say most of us probably don't, right? Like we use it a little bit here or there, but it's not the majority of the time.
Yeah, if you're not tracking what you're doing, then you don't know if you're getting better. So I could give a million examples, but one of them, I work with a lot of golfers. You can fall in love with some technique you're working on to make better contact, and your ball speed drops, right? But you don't notice that happening over time. If you're on a range and you're hitting golf balls, and you looks like they're kind of all going towards that target, but you don't know if your 8-iron is it really carrying 155 or is it carrying 163? You can't really tell on a driving range. Maybe the golf balls aren't that great either. But you think, hey, my swing's better. Look at this. I'm hitting it pretty straight and the contact feels great. But if you, with a couple of taps in the app that pairs, it's free with the Radar practice tracker. You can say, hey, what's my carry distance with my 8-iron? Literally with a couple of taps, and it pops up. So you can track that, and then we've got some other really meaningful statistics that we can talk about. One of them spread. We can save that for a bit.
We'll get deep on all that because I think that's where it really gets interesting. But the first question is like, people are going to say this can't be accurate enough to help give me any good feedback. What's your argument back to that?
Yeah. So I've got every launch monitor but pretty much use them with it, and it's plenty reliable and accurate for tracking your performance in practice. So we're usually within about a half a mile per hour of ball speed of the best launch monitors, and that's it. I believe that that's the number one thing if we're going to track something during practice and then predict how far you're carrying stuff. Ball speed is king. Um, we in the practice tracker app, we make it real easy for you to tell us what club you're hitting. You tap on the club and then you choose an intent. So every shot you hit is grouped by a club and an intent. And if we know the club you're hitting, then we can get it with the ball speed, we can get a really good prediction of how far you hit that shot. Um, the projectile motion equations, we make an assumption on launch and spin, and we can dial in your carry pretty closely, which seems to work out great. I can hit with a TrackMan or a quad running, and the carry numbers are pretty similar to what I have with the Stack Radar. And if they're not, what we have when you go into the app is a little tuning screen. So if you happen to be someone that tends to launch the ball a little bit lower, you might see a little discrepancy in the carry number. You can just say, hey, I tend to launch at 2 or 3 degrees lower than normal. Or if you're playing range balls that tend to be like limited flight, then you can say, hey, let's nudge up the ball speed. So then I can even get based on your own golf balls in your range, you can get a more accurate prediction of what you would do on the course.
Yeah, but doesn't I guess the dispersion has to matter for practice though, right? Like if I'm slicing it in one session and then I don't slice it in the next session or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan on tracking dispersion, and you'd say that's a gap in what we're missing when we track stuff with practice. But as it turns out, your dispersion laterally is tied quite closely to your dispersion in distance.
Okay.
So yeah, so everybody's you never see, if someone goes out and hits a whole bunch of 7-irons, you never see them left and right, but all on a single line. Oh, look, these all carried 175 yards, and some of them just happen to go left, and some of them just happen to go right. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You'll see the typical ellipse where pulls tend to go further, and pushes or shots that tend to hook go further, and fades and pushes tend to go shorter, and that creates that typical ellipse.
Mm-hmm.
That's primarily tied to ball speed. So for a pull or a hook, you de-loft the club, you get a little bit more ball speed, and those balls tend to go further. For the fade or the slices, the pushes, face is more open, you get a little less ball speed, and those are going to go shorter. So if we can track your ball speed, your dispersion in distance, we have a really good idea of what your lateral dispersion is. Bottom line is, if we can see your distance dispersion decreasing, your lateral dispersion is also decreasing. And the other thing is, when you're practicing at a range, it's actually pretty easy to decide whether you're hitting this ball left or right. So let's say, you set up on the range, you pick a tree, you pick the 150-yard target, and as you're going, you hit a shot, and yeah, okay, I slice that or I hit it left. Oh, I pulled that, that was no good. I can see, and you'll adjust from shot to shot. If you're making decent contact, you don't really know how far they're going to the level of precision you need. You can see a ball that's 5 yards offline really easily in your frame of view, but you don't know if it's gone 5 yards short or 5 yards long. A lot of ranges have hills and slopes, or you just can't, precisely tell where they're landing. So we're tracking that data. So you get that immediate feedback, which I think is super important. You have the visual feedback of whether you're missing left and right, and we track that carry number, and the spread in that carry number is a measure of your consistency.
So like the big thing for you was that a lot of us, we're practicing with poor feedback then, and we can't look at broad strokes of time saying like, this is what's changed in my driver over the last 6 months. This is what's changed in my 7-iron over the last 6 months. And so you're saying like, just more feedback, make it quick, make it easy, benefits to that.
And retrievable. right? So even any mini tour guys, elite juniors that I'm working with, they're using the radar and the practice tracker app because then I can easily look at their stats. There's tons of people I work with that use a TrackMan. They'll send me one-off sessions. Like, here's what happened, in this session. But I've never seen someone show me a graph if they're using a high-end launch monitor of like, hey, here's a graph of my distance spread over time. I've never seen that. That should be something that quantifies whether you're practicing correctly. And especially with, if you are someone that's serious about golf, let's take someone that's trying to make it on the Corn Ferry Tour, or someone who's trying to make it on the Americas Tour. And you know what? I'm tracking my strokes gained on the course, and things aren't going well. My strokes gained approach is not great. It's trending down. I think that's what the issue is. Okay, well, how does that map to your practice sessions? If your practice sessions over time show, no, look, my spread, that's what we call it. That's like the 95% confidence interval in your dispersion. Hey, my spread with my 7-iron over the last 3 weeks is staying pretty consistent. It's right around 3 or 4 yards. Well, then it's probably not in your swing, right? If you can track your progress over time in practice, maybe it's nerves, right? Maybe there's a mental issue on the course. Maybe it's strategy, right? But you can rule out have things deteriorated in practice? No. Then it's probably not a mechanical issue that you need to go grind on the range about. And that's what everybody defaults to without really knowing if that's it. Right. And that was a trap that I see a lot of people get caught in. Like, your swing's fine. Your practice sessions are great. You need to address other things about your game on the course. You're making bad decisions, or you're not handling the pressure well. But going and trying to tweak your swing isn't probably it. Or, hey, look, yeah, I could have seen this miscut coming because your spread in practice over the last 3 weeks has been trending up.
Is there like a routine that you're saying people go through? Is like this practice tracking? Do you have like a specific game or specific like hit this that you have people go through, or is it just kind of just hit golf balls?
Yeah, we've left it very open-ended, but we have a guide that you can follow. We won't get into we could get into the random practice versus block practice debate. But I'm a fan of.
You can't say that. Well, let's hear your thoughts then. Let's clip this
Yeah.
up. Let's get some engaging content. Let's get the comments going.
Yeah, I think both are important. You need a little bit of block for your confidence, but I'm also a full believer in that. A little bit of randomness, a lot of variability in your practice is probably going to make you better in the long run. But you can decide on the level that you want. So if you're a beginning golfer, what we recommend in the practice guide is say, hey, look, and you don't have 2 hours to practice. Maybe you have a half an hour. So you go in, you turn on the radar, hit practice tracker. We've got, let's say you're going to pick a pitching wedge, tap your intent, warm up intent, start hitting balls. So even your warm up shots are being tracked, right? Maybe you don't care about the spread, you don't care about things, but at least the number of shots you've hit with your pitching wedge and warm up are being tracked. Mm-hmm. And then getting, okay, I'm going to get into my practice session, and I'd pick 2 clubs. Maybe I'm going to hit my 7-iron and my pitching wedge today that I warmed up with, and I'm going to hit 15 shots with each. If you're a beginning golfer, I see no problem saying, okay, I'm just trying to get this thing airborne. I'm going to hit 15 pitching wedges, and then I'm going to go into just tap on the app again, 7-iron, stock, and now you hit 15 7-irons. But if you're someone that's, say, at your ability, I think it's probably more productive. There's times for block practice for sure, but I would love to see you go, okay, I'm going to hit 3 pitching wedges, and I'm going to switch over and hit 3 7-irons back to my pitching wedge. And then the more you want to challenge yourself, you can switch, every shot. And that's where it's so easy in the app to just go pitching wedge, change the intent, grab the 7-iron, change the intent. And in the app, those get logged as separate blocks that will become active and then inactive. And the interface we developed is exactly what I've been yearning to see from high-end launch monitors, where I want to see, if I'm hitting my 7-iron for this session, I want to see in really big numbers, what's my average, what's my max, right? How far, because maybe I'm hitting driver, but the big one is the spread. Launch monitor shows a statistical thing. It's called standard deviation, but it's kind of always small. Like, what does that exactly mean? We show the spread. That shows where you'd expect. If you hit this 7-iron 100 times, I would expect 95 of my shots to fall within this range of my average.
Got it. Okay, so you've put a lot of shots into the practice tracker. You've probably looked at some other people's data and stuff. Like anything interesting pop out, or like any kind of new realizations for you?
Yeah. It started first with my kids, but you're more likely to practice meaningfully if you know what's going to be tracked and you have a plan and you do it. It becomes more like what good tour players do. Tour players with good practice habits. There's lots of people that just do random crap, right? Because it's not really being tracked, and they know they're not going to go back to it and look at it and compare it to something else. It's just randomness. They just, will start hitting forehands until they hit a good one. It's like, all right, my forehand's good. But there's no thought that like, I'm going to use this data to make decisions about how I'm going to practice later. Is my technique working? Like you're all the time trying to, improve your ball speed, which is awesome. But right now, I know I can go into my app and go driver in 2 seconds, driver, stock, plot, choose the time frame, and I can show my ball speed for every driver session I've had the last 3 months. Most people are like, well, I had that one good session, but with 2 taps, they can't track their progress over time. So if you're a stacker and you've been working on your speed, this is a great way to pair to be like, hey, is my ball speed going up? Are the technical things that I've been working on actually helping?
Got it. Can we pull something together here? I don't know if this is going to work or not, but you did this great workshop where you talked about good ball strikers are really good at controlling their face to path variability from shot to shot. Is that right?
Yeah.
And that has to contribute to your distribution of short to long as well, right? So there's some tying in of like tracking all that to say like good ball strikers are able to have the tightest dispersion and face to path. Am I stretching here? I'm trying to pull all this stuff together.
No, 100%. It's just nice to have that one number of spread that captures that. And it's interesting, some people would say, well, as you get better as a golfer, you can hit the same ball speed and still have this big dispersion. But I've never seen anybody with that like dispersion line that has the same. And if you ask a tour player at the elite level, what makes Scotty Scheffler really elite? Yes, that face to path variability is certainly there, but tied with that is his distance control, right? That's what would you like his ability to always hit it pin high, right? Or always control that distance, not just with wedges, but also other irons. That is a skill set, and that becomes directly related back to ball speed.
Yeah. Well, you can't pull it and end up pin high, and you also can't like wipe it and end up pin high either, right? Like it just doesn't happen.
Right. So we're capturing that ability to control the face in that one metric of spread. So it makes it easier to look at. Which is kind of cool.
So do you know like what is an elite level like short to long dispersion? Is it like if 10 7-irons, it's whatever, like, do you know that?
Yeah. If you're on a range, it's going to be like 2 to 3 yards.
For a 7-iron?
Yeah. That's what yeah. Yeah. That's in terms of, absolutely. If you're on a range now, you're going to have, in terms of carry, that would be Scotty Scheffler. His ball speed with the 7-iron would be within a mile per hour over and over again. That
got it. So it just comes down to your ability to control ball speed is what that is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Got it.
And for the beginning golfer, the chunks and the thins, or not even someone who's a 10 handicap trying to become a 5 handicap, those miss hits get captured by that spread, right? The slight thins, the chunks, Those are getting registered as errors in ball speed, which then in our app translate to that increasing that spread number in carry. And if you're having a session where you're flushing everything, that's going to be captured as a tighter spread.
Do you remove those bad shots? Is that like stuff to throw
No,
out, or is that stuff to keep
no,
in? You want that?
you need those bad shots in, unless your kid hit you in the back of the leg or something in the middle of your swing. There was some weird aberration that happened. No, you need to keep the bad shots. Golf is about the bad shots. This is I get asked about this all the time in research, and I review papers like, oh, we remove the best and the worst 2 shots from the set. Well, I don't know what equipment you're testing, but those are the ones that matter. Really important with shoe testing. That's where the signal comes in. So doing not to get too off base here, but doing traction testing with FootJoy, and the question that was posed to me was, okay, well, what shots do we move? Like this guy, he was striping it, and then we got this one terrible one. Yeah, because we were trying to put the shoes under the test of like a slippery, baked hard ground like you'd get at a British Open, but soaked, and the spikes don't really dig in, and okay, these spikes slipped, we get an error. That's the one we want to capture. That's the one that's leading to the OB shot or the penalty drop. That's what matters to the score. So now you want those. Yeah, you want the chunks, the thins. You want that captured in your data. You're trying to remove those if you're trying to get better, and we want to see that.
I don't like that, because every time I'm trying to play the wedge, we'll talk about the wedge games and some wedge stuff and how important that is. But every time I hit a bad wedge shot, you chunk it or you blade it, like retake. I don't want to get that out of my data. Come on.
Yeah. Nope. Leave those in.
Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Okay, so the one thing that you said, this is like probably a few years ago now, that I've told a bunch of people, is that on shots under 150 yards ball speed, you can get 95% accurate on carry. Or what's that stat? Does that still hold true?
It's probably higher than that. To be honest, if you know the ball speed, you're going to be able to figure out how far this ball goes.
But everybody says but I hit a spinny one, so it's gonna float and go short, or whatever it is.
Yeah, ball speed's still big time king. Driver, it starts to get more influential, but it's still ball speed. It's ball speed still way more important in the grand scheme of things. I don't care how spinny you get, you're not making up 10 miles an hour ball speed. It'd have to be some really crazy, that's 30 yards. It'd have to be an extreme situation. The other thing is that the radar is not great if you're trying to play simulator golf.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you blade it, you want to know, did this thing blade over the green and go into the water, or did it blade over the green and stop 2 feet short of the water? If there's a pond over the back. All you care about when you're practicing is that was a bad shot. You don't really care if you're trying to hit 100 yards with your 54-degree wedge and did it go 115 or 118 when you bladed it? Don't care. It's a bad shot. It's getting registered as a bad shot in the app, and it was a bad shot. You bladed it. So I don't even care. Oh, I chunked that one. Did it go, I was trying to hit 100 yards. Did it go 50 or 60 yards? Yeah. I don't really care. I already have the feedback on that shot. I chunked it. The app says it went 60. Maybe it went 55. We misread your chunk, by a meaningful amount. Doesn't matter. It's still showing up in the app as a terrible shot, and you got the feedback you needed. What you care about and what you should learn from is, hey, struck that wedge the way I wanted. That was a good shot. Did it go 102 or did it go 98? We're good at that. And I know we're good at that because we've now got this game, seasonal circuits, a feature in the app, and there's no retakes. So a typical combine will be 30 shots. They take about 10 minutes, and some of the average errors that we see per target for the guys that win on a weekly basis are like 2 or 3 yards. That's the error. So they'll hit 3 shots to a 100-yard target, and they'll be like 98, 100, 101. Mm-hmm. So they have some error in their swing a little bit. that means that there's essentially virtually no error in the radar, right? We're like down to that half a mile per hour ball speed, because 1 mile per hour ball speed's 3 yards. So if they're consistently able to get within 2 or 3 yards of that target 30 shots in a row, the radar must be pretty accurate.
Yep. Got it. Yeah, and some guys are pretty good. I was looking at Marty, he posted, I don't know why he would post such a thing, but he got a 216 on there and is in second place. I'll tell you who's not hitting it within 2 to 3 yards of the number every time. Me right here. You'll find me down at the bottom of that leaderboard. And we're gonna need to get better at that.
You need some reps. You need some reps. You can be confident that if you hit the shot, as intended, that number that pops up in the app or on the radar is correct.
Okay, so what I've noticed, you've picked two metrics. One, with the practice tracker, you're like, I care about my ball striking with my full shots, and so I'm going to tighten my dispersion from short to long. I'm going to tighten that down. And then it's the same thing with the wedge game, but you're much more focused on, can I hit yardages and distance control? I guess going back to that, the full swing, is it all about like just I'm hitting full sevens? Or is it more about like, this is a 180, I'm trying to hit this 184 and I'm just trying to do that over and over again? How do you decide if you're going for a yardage or just trying to figure out how far does this club go, and how do you make that decision?
Yeah, it's pretty open-ended. We've left it up to the golfer with what they want to do. The whole system is based around choosing the club you're hitting and also an intent. So every shot is tagged. Okay. And within a session, if you have the same club and the same intent, even if it's a different point, it gets grouped with everything else in that session. That makes sense? So even if you're flipping around, you're like, oh, no, I'm going back to my 7er. But you can also type in the intent you want. So if maybe you got a knockdown shot you're trying to hit, a 3/4, maybe you choke down on the grip like a Tommy Fleetwood, and you're trying to say, okay, my 7-iron goes 175, my 8-iron goes 162, and I'm trying to figure out, should I jump on an 8-iron or hit a knockdown 7-iron? Which one's more accurate? Mm-hmm. You can choose those intents and hit shots with each of them to get to learn and figure out, okay, what is my average carry with this 7-iron if I choke down an extra 2 inches on the grip, right? Yeah. Or what's more accurate? Am I more repeatable? Is my spread tighter if I jump on an 8-iron, or is my spread tighter if I hit that knockdown 7-iron? And so you can track that over time, or you can choose to track your ball speed with your driver. That's a big one. So it's not necessarily just about carry. We also have the if you're interested in that, getting faster, which everybody should be.
I'm a fan of getting faster. Gosh, it's the middle of frickin' golf season. I swear I slow down so much come this time of year. Okay.
But also today I literally on hole 18, I was worried about that. I'm like, I think I'm getting slower. So I pulled the radar out of the bag, took me 2 seconds, put it down. And, unfortunately I wasn't getting slower. I was hoping that it was something I could blame it on, but, I was 112, 164 ball speed, which is great for me on the course. So I guess I need to blame something else, unfortunately.
What's your difference on in your practice sessions on the practice tracker? Is it the same as that, or what are you on the range versus on the course?
I tend to practice about what I play at, which is good. Okay. Like if I, when I stack, my max effort stack swings are meaningfully faster than what I play at. I tend to be at a relatively low percentage relative to most people that I talk to that stack. My driver e-speed is in, low mid 20s, like 122, 123, I think was the last program I did. But I would never play at that, a fast swing on the course for me would be 115.
Okay. Got it. Why not? Why would you not really push it?
Weak in character. Yeah. Need to be braver on the course, I think.
Yeah.
It's an issue, Cordy. It's an issue. I know. My 15-year-old, I can hear him right now in the back of my head. Why aren't you swinging at that? Yeah.
It is weird how that changes. I look at my swing on the course and my backswing is, half the length that it is on the range. when I'm, swinging at it. And it's like,
Yeah,
where'd your backswing go, dude? Like, why'd you leave it? Why'd you leave it at the range?
I know.
Anyways, swing with freedom. Where were we? Okay.
Yes.
So I think it's like what I love and I like am super passionate about this is we don't practice with good feedback. So now you're like, okay, here's good feedback. It's something that's actually going to help us play better. It's not just like tracking something for tracking's purposes, because most of us don't need the launch monitor data when we're practicing. Like you just don't need to know your attack angle most of the time. Like you just don't, right? Like
No, but it's super helpful. If we look at other sports, it's super helpful to look at the quality of your practice and do have some measures of the volume, what you've been doing in practice. Are you getting better? Um, but we don't need that wealth of granularity, right? If there's something that you're trying to figure out, like you are slicing the ball a lot,
mhm.
okay, let's go with a session and let's figure out how far left is my path and how open is the face or something. But golfers don't spend enough time just practicing without grinding over that data. There's I think there's a great story. Dustin Johnson, before he won any majors, where it was like, hey, let's use this TrackMan, and I think Claude Harmon was
Mhm.
just like, okay, but we're putting one number on there, carry, right? We're
Yeah.
we're shutting down. I'm sure you've heard that, right?
Yeah.
And so that's because he just needed to practice. He didn't need to work on technique every day. He's like, oh, my technique's good enough. I'm launching it at a good window. I'm launching it, 26, 27. The spin's always good. Okay, well, I just need to practice carrying it certain yardages. What is my spread around those yardages? Yeah. And we can get a bit too technical all the
It
time
turns
with
out,
golf.
a golf biomechanist. You do care about technique, I believe.
Yes.
So how do you balance in your brain? I would probably, like, personally, I always lean more towards like I'm interested in figuring out how to make stuff functional as it is. Like, do you lean that way in real life? And you like just talk about like how do you balance technique and making things functional as is?
Yeah. I like that. I'm way more into practice than into technical stuff.
Hmm.
Once you learn about the technical stuff for someone, then you know what you need to work on, and you don't need to monitor all those details all the time. I've got force plates in the lab, and usually when people come in, maybe if someone comes in, say a dozen times, the force plates may be used once, right? Um, it's because we don't want to always be looking at that. We've identified what the issue is. Maybe there's something in the pressure shift, whatever. If it's technical with the force plate, but I don't need to measure that all the time. Um, and like if we look at take a sport that's requires a lot of precision, let's say taking a hockey shot, right? There's actually very highly skilled, precise um, thing you have to do in hockey: 3D shoot a puck into the corner of the net at a high velocity with people coming at you trying to take your head off. It is just as technical as hitting a driver, and you need a similar level of precision. As you get I'm sure you're familiar with hockey. As you get closer, further away from the net, even though you're trying to hit that same target, the top corner, the launch angle you need to get there changes. If you're 5 feet further from the net, you need a lower launch angle. Closer, you need a higher launch angle. There's very precise things that you need to do with the hockey puck, but we're not grinding over that data. Hockey is all about practicing to make sure you can do that. And we need a little bit more of that in golf.
Got it. Got it. Do you feel like, well, so like I'm chronically bad at wedge distance control. I have, this is really dumb, but I've worked with the best in the world, like very lucky to on my wedges. And one thing is I know the techniques, I know that, but I just don't do it enough. We were with Claude in his thing, and he told the Dustin Johnson story and doing that. And like, he worked with me on it. Right. But I just don't do it enough is what it really comes down to, of just like getting the reps in to get better at it.
Yeah, I always like to when I'm talking to instructors, to if you want to imagine what your student's feeling, is you should play left-handed, assuming the instructor's right-handed, right? So I once we were at Ping, and I once made Joe Mayo give James Ridyard chipping lesson, but James had to play left-handed with my clubs.
Nice.
Right. So it's like, okay, clearly there's no issue in concept here. Right. They both know exactly what they need to do with this chip shot.
Yeah.
But so we've removed all that. But even though James got a little bit better, you could see that he's not going to become perfect in that session. Right. He needs a whole lot of reps, and he doesn't need to be looking at his attack angle and the spin. He just needs a lot of reps. Now, it would be nice to have a global outcome of how well he was doing in each chip shot, right? Like in that example, it'd be like, what's the proximity to the hole?
Yeah.
But if we were learning how to hit a 7-iron, James would need to be practicing. And hey, just let me know what the average carry is with that 7-iron over each practice session, and what's the spread. And I'll tell you whether you're getting better or not, right?
Yeah. No, that makes a ton of sense. Okay, so I want to jump to wedges then quickly in the wedge game. You've explained it in the past, and I think not enough people are still probably using it and going through it. I am now. I have logged some stuff here over the last 6 months. I know that it's a real issue. But like, describe the games that you built and then why you built them in the specific way that you did to play on there.
Yeah, so we can get really accurate measures of carry, and we're trying to figure out, all right, if you have this radar for speed training, and now you should just get the radar for your wedge game. How can we add some value? And I built a game that's got so many cool features around making practice addictive and also maximizing your insight. So we've got one mode that's called Premier, and we've got 100 challenge levels. Okay. Challenge level 1 is block. So you've got 2 sets of 10 shots. You hit 10 in a row with, to a 50-yard target, 10 in a row to an 80-yard target. Then if you do well, if you score well, you move up in challenge level. So your score on that combine determines what the next combine is you're going to get. So if you do another combine right away, you might be at level 50. As you get higher up in levels, basically if you get to level 100, you've got 10 different yardage targets in the combine, 1 shot, and then you jump to another one, and the yardages will all be mixed up. So it'll be like a shot to 33, then a shot to 108, and you're constantly switching clubs. It's like the toughest way to score. And speaking about scoring, one thing that really bothered me about most combines or wedge games that you'd see with other launch monitors is, hey, you get it inside this, 20-foot target, and you get 10 points. And it doesn't matter whether you hole out or you're 15 feet, it's 10 points. And that's not how golf works. Golf rewards, and exponentially so, the closer you get to the target. It should behave like strokes gained. If we go out and play a round of golf on 9 holes, Cordy, and we look at our approach shot proximity, and you hit all 9 to 20 feet, right? So your average is 20 feet. You're probably going to get maybe 1 birdie. You're probably going to shoot around par, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say my average was also 20 feet, but I happened to hit 4 of those to 2 feet and 4 of them to 40 feet. Well, I know that I'm going to beat you because those 4 or 2 feet, those are all birdies. So those approach shots should get exponentially more points in the wedge game. So it's based off strokes gained. And if you hit some great shots, you get a lot of points. And that's basically, I've said, okay, I've asked you this before. What's the most strokes you can lose on a shot on the golf course?
2.
And from a strokes gained perspective, 2. You hit a ball OB. No one likes negative numbers. No one likes decibels. No one ever played, I'm trying to think of pinball, right? Hey, pinball score, back in the 70s, like, hey, what was your
Negative.
score? Negative 14.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, no one likes decimals. Oh, how'd you do? I had a great strokes gained. I was negative 0.002.
Yeah.
Oh, but that would be awesome, right? You're almost as good as a tour player. So let's get rid of the negatives. So let's add 2 to whatever strokes gained value it was. So therefore, now they're all positive. And let's get rid of all the decimals. Let's multiply it by 100. So strokes gained of 0, great shot, gives you 200 points. Makes sense?
Yeah.
And it's the more folks do any of the wedge stuff, we use the same scoring system. The more you get used to those scores. So like Marty posted, he was in seasonal circuit and he posted, I think he had a score of like 214 or something,
Yep.
215. So that is like PGA Tour level distance control.
My last attempt was 192.7.
Well, that's not terrible. I think that's
Okay.
probably single digit handicap. I think it probably gives you a handicap equivalent.
It's a 2.9 was that attempt.
Yeah.
Was that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it. So that's saying, so tour level is 200 then?
Yeah, tour level's 200, and
Okay.
it doesn't quite track over to our handicap because you have to realize that that's for a random. If you took a tour player and said, "Hey, come on out to this fairway, we're going to drop you at 82 yards, hit the shot." That's a little different than, all right, we're in controlled environment. You're going to hit 6 of these 80-yard shots in a row. Right. So your scores might look a little bit inflated relative to the tour player. It's like the tour player playing challenge level 100. What would they expect to score? I'd expect them to score 200. Yeah.
How do you get 228? What
Yeah. Yeah. Who was that?
Josh Landine.
Josh Landine. Yeah.
Josh
Canadian.
Landine. Who's that? Should I know him?
You should know him. He's a really good instructor in Canada.
Okay.
And he's got a dialed wedge game. But that's why I look at that score and it says that they're just, you can't hit retakes, right?
Yeah.
So if the radar messes up, you're stuck with that shot. And it's 30 shots. So the odds that the radar is just going to randomly have error that works in your favor. Oh, I shot it, 4 yards less, but the radar overestimated by 4 yards. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I see a score of 228, and that says you can be confident that if you hit your yardage number, the radar is going to tell you that yardage number. So he would be inside an average of like 2 yards for that combine around his target. So if the target was 115, he probably had like a 113 and like a 115 at most, probably even closer than that, which is wild.
Okay.
Like he's able to hit. If you tell him, like I always like to think in ball speed because that's even more impressive. If I tell you to hit a shot that's 110, and then I tell you to hit a shot that's 113, that's 1 mile per hour of ball speed. And watching the really good players do stack wedging, if let's say the target's 110 and they hit 112, the next one will be 110. So they're able to resolve that and be like, I need a third a mile per hour less ball speed. Whack.
What have you do you feel like the best do like clock system stuff, or like what have you seen from some of the best at it?
Yeah, I'm fine with the clock system. It's comfort. It gives people some structure, but you're never going to be elite at that. And I can explain it to you really simply. What's the other skill in golf besides distance control wedging where you need super precise ball speed? Putting. And no one says, okay, this is 10 feet. I'm going to go back 4 inches. This is because that's, it's the same. The longer a putt is, the longer your backstroke gets and the faster you move through it. We tend to have the same backswing time and forward swing time, regardless of the distance of the putt. But it requires, if you want to be a good putter, you need to resolve ball speed down to that third of a mile per hour.
Mm-hmm.
And you there's no equivalent clock system, or you'd have to come up with a different name of it, but you're like, this is my 6-inch putt, this is my 8-inch putt. You just wouldn't get precise enough. So I think it helps maybe give some structure, but like when I've had a few good scores in the I think the first combine, I think I finished second or third. You just have to, just like you can feel like this putt's going to go 30 feet and this putt's going to go 34 feet. You feel a difference between 75 and 80. I feel like that's what elite players do. They just have a feeling of, I need to generate this much ball speed and I can do it. Yeah.
And it's probably, we've done a lot more reps of leg putting than distance wedging. So maybe that's why we're more familiar with it. And we don't kind of require that.
I'm not super against it, because if it gives someone structure and confidence, and if they know that their whatever wedge goes 80 yards, then okay, they can kind of work off of that. But it's like a secondary goal that just makes things more complicated. So now you're like, okay, I got to hit this 80 yards. Okay, then I've got to have my swing go back here, this far. And at the same time, I'm also trying to accomplish this other goal of actually doing this thing with the ball.
Yeah.
And you realize how tough that would be if you did it in putting, right?
Yeah.
You're like, all right, you're trying to get all dialed in with the putt. You're reading the break. You're trying to execute this putt. And you're like, right. And I've got to have this putter go back 8 inches. Well, I got to have it go back 8 inches. And, it's like, it seems more challenging to have those accomplish two objectives as opposed just to the objective of the task.
So are we doing heads up wedging then? Have we done that yet?
It's range of motion becomes an issue.
Okay.
Also, precision of contact is way more important in wedging than it is in putting.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
I thought that was next, that we're just going to evolve. We're just going to keep evolving heads up.
I've tried to hit a few that way. It's just, it becomes the lie becomes such a factor in how you're trying to interact the club with the ground relative to the ball. Unlike putting, that's never an issue. But that you being able to retain the distance cue in putting is super important for what you execute. So that's why heads up, I think we've talked about this before, but if you're like, all right, take this basketball shot, look at the ground, it would feel foreign. That's what it feels like to me when I putt. Actually, today, I played 18 holes today. My ball was right against a really thick collar, and there was probably only maybe a third of it showing, and I putted heads down. It was a 15-footer up the hill, but I was right up, it rolled back off the green against the collar, and it feels so foreign to me. It's like this, it feels so wrong to look down, but I needed that really precise impact location. And when the lie is so important to the shot execution, like it is in short game, that's what you want to be focused on, right? That lie tells you so much about what you were trying to execute in the movement. Where am I trying to land the club? But what do I expect this ball to do? So, and of all those thousands and thousands of lies you've had and executed, you looking at that links back to the mechanics that you're trying to execute.
Got it. Okay, so we covered a lot of good stuff here. I think the simple premise is that most of our practice is boring, it sucks, it's untrackable, and we kind of go through the motions. Now, if we bring a launch monitor, we probably go too nerdy and just end up hitting 50 shots, like staring at different numbers and trying to manipulate stuff. Your general thing is like, hey, if you can hit the ball in a tight dispersion, that means that you're probably a really dang good ball striker. So let's do it and track it, right? Like that's the gist of it. And then for $260, you can do that really well.
Yeah. When you're out in the golf course and you pull an 8-iron, it's because you're trying to hit 160 yards. And you want to be confident you can do that. When you're practicing, that's what you should be practicing trying to do. I'm going to try to hit this 8 on 160 yards.
Yeah.
You try to do that a bunch of times in practice, and you want to see how good you are at doing it. What is your average carry, and what's your spread of that carry? That's what you're trying to do on the golf course.
Yep.
Right?
No, it's been funny. It seems like more and more people are interested in this. Because I get messages of like all the time, like, hey, what launch monitor should I buy? And it's always about context, right? Like, well, how are you going to use it? And if anybody says, oh, I just, I want something when I go to the range, it's like, well, like you should focus on getting better at your wedges. You should focus on like tracking your stuff. And you just need to know, like you said, ball speed, like you've, shared with me years ago now at this point. And it's like, it's great. It's freeing but not enough people do it. But it's so simple. You don't need all that stuff right now.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Thank you. For less than a driver, for way less than a driver these days. My God.
That's just an average shaft cost.
Yes, that's correct. You can start tracking everything. So, okay, practice tracker is one aspect. The wedge games are a whole nother aspect. With the seasonal circuit's really fun because anything that's a game and you can compete against other people is great. And you can make fun of me and my poor scores if you go sign up. It's generally a good idea. What else? What else do you got cooking like that people can hook up to the Stack Radar? Those are the two main purposes that they're going to be using.
Those are the two main purposes, but you can also create your own practice session with wedging and track your combine scores over time. So if you want to do the clock system, no problem. We've got a tab in there that says creative, and you can set up the exact practice session with the yardages you want. You can name what you're trying to practice. Hey, my 54 to 9 o'clock, and then for 3 shots. And then I'm going to hit my 60 to, whatever, 12 o'clock, whatever your system is. And you can practice your clock system over time and see if you're getting better or not. You cheer when you set a record for yourself. If you get a high score, the app tracks that and congratulates you. It's pretty exciting.
Cool. And then, obviously it's tracking with the speed training, right? With Stack is I'm assuming why you made this thing to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's why we're one of the reasons why we're the number one speed training system is because we made practicing getting faster, fun and engaging, and you can see your improvement over time and things are tracked. We've gamified it. So we're like, hey, let's do this with the rest of the game, right?
Yeah.
We have this tool here. Let's see if how do we make the most of it?
Totally. All right, Sasho. That was good. I can't recommend this to people enough. It's been funny. I feel like started recommending the simplest launch monitor more than anything else these days, just because it's what people need. So it's been kind of a funny change for me over the years of what people need.
Yeah, and even if you have another more expensive launch monitor, throw this in. This just stays in my golf bag.
Right.
And if you want to work on technique, hey, there's times I work on technique. I fire up the big one. It might take 5 minutes to get set up. You learn some technique stuff, but for your practice, this is great.
Thanks for making this. Let's, I need to go. I do need to get my seasonal circuit in for this week. I am hoping to do that. I'm taking my son to golf like every day. He's got a match tomorrow. He's got a match Friday. It's like, when does Dad get to go practice?
I'm with you. I had a junior tournament yesterday, junior tournament tomorrow. Sneak out onto the range, while you're waiting for the prizes or something. Seasonal circuit will take you 7 minutes.
Okay. All right. We'll bring a wedge and do it. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Perfect.